I'm excited about this next segment. I have a couple of my coworkers that are going to be sharing some information with you about what National can do for your chapters. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my good friend, Blake Haynes, also known as the Lifesaver. Thank you, Blake.
Okay. So we're going to be doing the website opportunity and what it's like to partner with us. Some of the chapters here, some of the representatives here, you already know what that process looks like because we're already up and running with you and have launched your site to help your online branding to kind of look consistent and that kind of that stuff. So just a little bit about me. My name is Blake Haynes. I'm the multimedia specialist for the National office. I've worked for National for about 4.5 years now. Some of the responsibilities I have, graphic design, social media, we've got photography, videography, website management, and then, some content writing, media relations, et cetera, right? So what are we offering? Basically, what we're offering is to build an online presence that is consistent with our brand, all along the lines of also eliminating a designer fee, right? So the cost of the designer. So I don't know if any of you have worked with an independent contractor or a company that has assisted you with the website in the past. It could range from anything from, hey, you have a monthly retainer fee after you've had the creation process cost, along to, you could have that same retainer fee and then they could limit you so much as, hey, you've got X amount of changes throughout the month. So we've basically taken that cost and it's done for, right? There's no more of that. Some of the other thing, you're able to link to all the national events. So whether it's we'll have on your homepage there towards the bottom, there is the Traumas of Law Enforcement Training National Conference, information about National Police Week, just random events and hands-on programs, things like that. Basically, with that designer elimination, there's also no tech support needs, right? So if you're working with an outside company, I don't know, again, some of you may have, you have to put in a support ticket. Does that support ticket go to the front of the line? Probably not. So you're able to call us, email us, get in direct contact with us. We're able to then assist you in your needs without, a whole lot of headache. I've had individuals who have walked up to me here, since we've been here this weekend, said, hey, we need a couple of these changes made, or hey, we have an event that's coming up, and we're happy to help out with whatever we can. We'll go into it a little bit later, but you'll actually have a training process that representatives get. So when I say that, your training process, you'll have a Zoom meeting basically with Tony Williams, who is the multimedia manager. And what he'll do is kind of walk you through step-by-step process of, hey, this is how we're creating some of this and some of the tools and gadgets that you got on the back end of that, whether it's widgets, linking to PDFs, creating buttons, all sorts of stuff. So some of the stuff we're going to kind of cover just a little bit. So what is WOCODE? So WOCODE is a hosting service program and platform that's online based. WOCODE legitimately stands for without code, which we'll kind of get into a little bit here in just a second. But it's based for small business owners, small organizations. We're obviously big, so it works for us as well. But consolidated platforms, right? So you yourself in an entity, if you think about it, you're not, enterprise rent-a-car where you're having to go here, there, and everywhere. You're in your local location, right? So you're able to kind of go in and edit with this program versus having to go in and code, program, and things of that nature. So what is a hosting service? It's just basically where your website is then stored. Your domain name, which you'll also have to have, a lot of you already have it. Your domain name is what you type into your URL. So kscops.org, necops.org, whatever that may be. You may have a few of these just to make sure that they're not bought up by somebody else, and then you have to pay to get those back. So it could be .com, it could be .net. It could be an old website that you may have had in the past. So instead of kscops.org, it could be kansascops.org or whatever. That way you're able to point that into your new website that you have built through our partnership. Yes.
With our website, if you were to Google Genesee Valley Cops, we're upstate New York, and I have no problem getting to it and opening it up, but it shows, I think it's like Southern Nevada. So,
So it's probably your SEO optimization that's on the back end. So and another thing, what we'll do is, so that way I can work with you all individually, because a lot of your questions are going to be directed just to your personal website or maybe a back end problem that you may be having. Just go ahead and wait until the very end, write them down, and I'll meet with you afterwards, or you can send us an email if we're not able to connect here, because it'll be problems like that we'll have to go in and we'll have to fix. More than likely what's probably happened when you had your website set up, your SEO optimization on the back end of that just wasn't changed, is probably what it was. So that needs to be going in and basically just altered. So basically, like I was telling you, so WOCODE virtually stands for without code. So in that process, you're no longer having to do that editing software. You're no longer having to code on the back end with HTML or what have you, right? This also is going to eliminate some of the excess work that you're having to do finding some of your text stuff to put into your code or your color schemes or whatever. So basically, you're going to log into WOCODE, and you're basically then going to be able to make your changes there on the platform with your rows and columns and your creation process there, almost like a design program. So if you've ever dabbled in, Publisher or Adobe InDesign or something like that, it is kind of similar in a sense with the design principles. Again, row and column kind of laid out there. And after you hit publish, it's going straight to your hosting service. So you're not really having to then double back and check code or what's going on. It's really simplified the process. So what's your website kind of look like here? So again, so what we've kind of got is through your process, here's kansas.cops.org, by the way. So you've been able to allow some of the creation process here. So it's going to look a lot like National's site. That way, again, we're a consistent brand across everybody who's able to access not only us, but you guys as well. That way they know once they've got there, they've got what they're looking for, along with your, some of your branding up top, like logos. Separate pages. Obviously, again, you're looking at your services pages here. This is going to link directly back into the National site, like what we kind of talked about. But some of that process on the back end to get to some of this, where we're at now at a finished product, which is what Kansas C.O.P.S is you're going to get in contact with us. We're going to set up some time to then get you set up a meeting. We're going to have you fill out a document before we have that meeting. Basically, it's just going to tell us the status of where you're at. Do you have your domain name purchases? Do you have an active site right now? And some of the other processes, do you have your hosting packages? Are you using network solutions? Are you using GoDaddy.com? Those kind of questions, just to figure out where you're at and where we need to basically take this from there. After we've got that information, we'll basically start building your page off of some of the schemes that we have before. So again, it's all kind of set up the same. Once your page is ready for review, we'll schedule a training session with the leader of kind of like your project there itself, along with anybody else you want to have. So you can have as many people as you want on that training session. That way, it's not falling on one person. Even if you have a point or lead who's going to be making those changes, it's always, I would say, necessary to have a couple of people that know what's going on. Because, for example, if Dave Johnson, who's nodding yes back there in the back at me, who I know handles their website, maybe he's out or he's on vacation and you need something that has to be changed right then and there. Well, if nobody can do it, then nobody can do it right now. Obviously, with us, you can call us and we'll assist you with that. But just to have somebody internally as well that can assist with that is very, very crucial. After the training session, we'll kind of meet and see, okay, let you guys have kind of some editing processes through there and play with it, dabble with it. That way you guys are all seeing kind of what's going on and you can kind of get comfortable before we go live. Once you go live, you're up and ready to rock and roll. Again, we're available to help out and assist in any way that you may need. Here's some of the back end of this. So this is what your WOCODE site is going to actually look like on the back end. So underneath here, you're going to log in and you're going to have what's basically says projects, right? So underneath your projects, you're going to click on your site. So in this case, again, Kansas C.O.P.S redesign. So as you're kind of walking through here, you're going to see that some of the principles that I've talked about, right? So I'm showing you here, here's your URL, here's where you're going, here's your projects page. And basically, again, it's going to go back to that simple design principles. I say simple, but after we get through that training process, I'm sure that you can catch on and quickly kind of grasp what's going on here. So as I'm clicking through here, you can kind of see some of the buttons, some of the text. So this is straight on the back end. You're able to click in these boxes right here. You can change whatever text you want. Again, they're column row divided. So as you're going down, these are all rows. As you can kind of see, it's kind of small, but there's a little button on each one in the upper left-hand corner that'll say row. And as you're going by, there's columns that you can select as well. Again, widget-based, which we'll kind of get in there to kind of show you here shortly what kind of some of those look like. It, again, can be anything from a button. It can be dropping in an image. You can create galleries on the back end. Raise your hand. Has anybody been on our Trauma as a Law Enforcement training page? No? Oh, so we got one. If you're in the national staff and you haven't, I don't know why you're not raising your hand. So basically, so on that back end, that's a perfect example, or even the hands-on programs page if you've been there. Some of those galleries are set up and you can go in and alter individually. So all your information is going right in there on the back end of that gallery. So you're not having to then go in and morph every text box and get monotonous, right? Very easy to go in and quick and change really, really quickly. It also allows you to link to downloadable PDFs. You can link to things like fillable forms. So if you've ever registered for a program or you've registered for board chapter training, you have used a fillable form that we've then provided through the website through one of those buttons, right? So some of the other cool features you can have, like your fundraising, donor recognition, like they have there. And as you can see, kind of some of the drop-down menus that we're showing you there. You can create pop-ups, which will, save a whole lot of time if things close. This is one of the pop-up pages right there. So you're going into the back end, just kind of templated again, like some of the other things are. You've got your text boxes. You can even choose from some of the stylistic ones that they've already created, right? You can drag and drop any image that you want on there. Yeah, so that's kind of some of the stuff linking to your website, your cop shop, obviously there for us. Just a lot of different features that you can kind of utilize and kind of morph off of what we've created for you, right? Your own little brand, almost. So, a lot of questions that we get is, what does the cost look like, right? Well, I've kind of told you you're already eliminating designer fees and some of the tech support fees that you may have, right? So basically, your initial costs are going to be your domain name. So again, depending on what you've purchased those at, or if you're starting out new, we will help you kind of go through that and kind of price out some stuff for you. Depending on how much that cost is, that's going to couple in with your WOCODE fee. And your WOCODE fee currently is $120 a year, so about $10 a month, right? And with that being said, that is no cost that you're paying to national, right? We're not gaining anything monetary to partner and do some of this stuff for you guys. It's strictly just the fees of the platform itself. Some of the other fees that you could accrue, again, Jamie Bradway is going to come up here and kind of talk a little bit about her experience of working with us and kind of showing some of the testimonials that she's going to work through. But here recently, right after Police Week, actually, she got a hold of us and said, hey, we need some chapter emails, and we just want them to be generic so anybody can access them, so they're not Dave Johnson at Illinois Cops or whatever. So then we have to phase those out or do away with them, right? So they set up 4 generic ones. We went in through GoDaddy for them and kind of created some of that stuff. But that is going to be an additional cost to tie some of all that stuff in on the back end of your package. And again, you do not pay us. We invoice you the cost of WOCODE. And then basically, after that, if you want to break down, if you're already partnering with us, we're happy to provide that. Just reach out to Tony. His information will be on the final page or our final slide here. He's happy to provide a breakdown of what you're kind of paying for. That way, if you're like, hey, I'm not paying $120, where is this at? We can break it down for you and show you, hey, you've got 4 domain names, and here's your cost of your domain names on your automatic renewal. Some of the other things that we've kind of would encourage you to do financially is if you have that recurring option, go ahead and do that. I cannot tell you how many times, it's not so much just working with this organization, but you see that, hey, you didn't remember that you were supposed to renew your domain name on July 1st, and now you no longer have a website. Or, you get bought up by flyfishing.org, right? So, and then you have to pay extra to get that back, or change your domain name and have to basically rebrand in a sense online.
Is that $120 per domain name?
So no, that's just your WOCODE feed. So your domain name is going to depend on what you're looking for, the pricing that we can get it at that time. Again, if somebody else has already purchased it and owned it, they can basically set whatever price they want, in a sense. So you have 3. So yeah, so those are going to be each individual ones, and I would strongly encourage you, if you've got those, they're probably for a reasoning on the background. So they are, I mean, do you have like .org, .com? So yeah, so I would definitely encourage you to keep all of those. Go ahead, Dave.
Just speaking in general, domain fees are usually $20 a domain a year. You go multi-years, you get discounts.
Right.
That's usually what you're looking at. We just bought, the chapter doesn't know it. I bought one for Cycle, so we can start trying to promote Cycle. It was a last minute thing. It's like, why aren't we doing this? So it's redirected back at the C.O.P.S page. The nice thing about having them as your IT is that we're all not going to be in the same offices in a few years. So there's a consistency with them having IT control over the websites and over the domains, because we have somebody that may have control over that domain. They leave on bad terms. They have control over that domain. So having Tony and National C.O.P.S have control of that domain protects the chapters.
Right.
So they've been great to work with the last year. It was one of these, we had the quick conversation of how much control can we get back, because the chapter forgot about it. My secret is I am an old IT guy, so as soon as the chapter got control, the president just looked at me and said, run. So I spent a week redesigning our website, got it out, and we could start pushing stuff out for our events. If I've got my computer with me, I can, which is upstairs right now, I can log into the site and make changes right now and have it produced. So WOCODE is a very nice thing. I mean, we were joking from an IT point of view. There are some things I'd like to do, it can't do, but I'm trying to do some really challenging things, but it's a good middle platform so most people can make it look good. It's not that difficult. There's a couple things I had to beat my head on the wall because I know how to do it the hard way. I can't do it the easy way.
Just delete some colons.
It's a good option. If you deal with domain pricing, the fact $120 a year and they're not charging for IT support. When I was working IT, I was charging $120 an hour to start.
Right.
So depending on where your IT support's charging, it gets expensive quick. They're great people to work with. So I just wanted to say nice things.
Don't be too nice. Come on, Dave. Well, actually, we can pass that over to Jamie. Jamie, do you want to come up here? Or you can stand there and talk. It's completely up to you. As they're passing the microphone, another thing that I would like to echo and kind of hash out is just because it is a base thing that we'll create in the beginning does not mean you cannot put your own personal touch on it. We encourage you to do that. It is your chapter. If you've got some ideas on certain pages that you would like to see a little bit differently, go ahead and do it. I mean, it's your website. Just overall scheme, stuff like that is what we'll set up in the beginning. But go ahead, Jamie.
So when our website was being, I guess you could say, built like this, I was still the secretary at that point in time, and Dustin was our president at that point in time. But it was seamless with you guys. You guys were amazing there at the national office because whatever we needed, you guys did it. We had, and it was in the middle of COVID too. We had trainings on the site during our board meetings. You guys came on and said, "Here's what it looks like right now," and what do you want to go where? And we're going to put this here and do this, and send us photos for your board pages, and give us some bios, and, give us this and give us that, and, what else do you need, and what do you want this to look like? And you guys did everything, whatever we wanted, and made it look, just like Nationals looks, and it's very cohesive, and it's great. And then we decided, because we were all using our personal emails, and it just wasn't great for us. It just wasn't. It wasn't the best for. It wasn't as professional to have our personal emails for C.O.P.S purposes. And we wanted something that would go long-term, that could pass from one person to the next. So a generic C.O.P.S email for president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer was going to be perfect. So I called you and said, hey, we need emails, and I don't know how to do this. And so Blake set us up with emails, and, it was so simple, and he got it done very quickly, and, I really don't know what else to say about that. Okay. Yeah.
I just want to add one thing to the email thing. Having a treasurer at kansascops.org is amazing when you're trying to get everybody to send you National Police Week receipts, that you don't have to go and try and find that in amongst the 5,000 other ones you have on your personal email.
Yeah.
It's very easy. They don't have to even remember my name. You just send it to the treasurer at kscops.org, and it's amazing. So
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'll kind of just bring back up is we have those training sessions, right? I just want to hash this out too as well, because I've had a few people ask about that, just additional, or hey, we're not really catching on, we need a little bit of extra help. Reach out. We're happy to schedule more. We're happy to get as many people on there as we possibly can. Cheryl?
So in Greater Houston, I think all the Texas chapters have it, because we have 4 chapters. So we would like all of our counties that we serve on
Okay.
our page, right? And what we have now presently is that you can touch the county, and it'll take you to a location and bring up all the fallen officers from that county.
Okay.
And it has a picture then of the state of Texas divided into the 4 chapters by
Right.
color. So are those things possible? And are we looking at extra fees for those things?
No, that would just be something we'd have to hash out and see what exactly we can kind of mock up, and no, I wouldn't say that would be anything
Okay,
crazy.
thank you.
Yeah, we basically just need basically what you're looking for, and then basically your URL is where you're pointing everything to, right? So we can link up here. All right. We'll take one more, and then like I said, if you have anything additional, we can definitely meet afterwards.
Yeah, no, just a comment. We used iPage before, and the mobile version of it wasn't friendly at all, and it
Not
didn't work.
responsive. Yeah.
Yeah, so now with WOCODE, it's simple. You have a button that you push, and it says, show me what it's going to look like on my phone. And you can see it, and you can
Right.
adjust it, and it's really simple.
Right.
So
You
it's
can
another-
actually see desktop, tablet, and mobile version all just right there, and you can flip through just to make sure, like she said, and maybe it's showing up great on your desktop, and you hit publish, and you're like, oh great, it made all these awesome changes, and then Diane Bernhard calls you, and she's like, hey, these buttons aren't working, they're cut off. You're like, well, I probably should have checked it. You're right. I'll go fix those. So, that's kind of what I've got. Again, if you have questions, pull me aside, and I'm happy to kind of hash those out with you. At this time, I'm going to introduce our benefits coordinator, Alyssa Starnes, and she's got a lot of topics. So.
Hello. I have gotten the privilege to meet some of you, but if you have not, I'm Alyssa Starnes, and I'm the benefits coordinator. I know a lot of people have said this today already, but I just want to start by saying thank you. A lot of what we do, and specifically what I do, would not be possible without boots on the ground in chapters, talking to survivors about our scholarship program, kids counseling, all of that. So thank you. So with that being said, so what benefits are available to survivors through C.O.P.S? We have our scholarship program and our C.O.P.S Kids Counseling Program. Something else I do is, Diane mentioned it earlier, and Hope, I'm also a point of contact for any PSOB related questions. So Hope did an amazing job earlier, but I will touch a little bit on the educational assistance also today that's available through PSOB. And then another thing that I wanted to reiterate is I'm also working on updating any state benefits that are state death benefits that are available in your state to survivors. There is a lot of information out there, so if you guys ever have any updates or new things that come about, please get those over to us at National, because we want to make sure we always have the most accurate information available for them. So yes, the kids counseling. So I'm going to start with the scholarship program. Who is eligible for that? Surviving children and spouses of fallen law enforcement are eligible for those, or for that program. There is no age limit. Somebody asked me that earlier, because a lot of state death benefits, there is an age limit to those. There's no age limit, and spouses can remarry and still be eligible for our scholarship program. That is a little bit different from some state benefits, so that is something that really appeals to people. And then if a survivor is entitled to a tuition-free education as a state death benefit, they are no longer eligible for our scholarship. The exception to those are if they move to another state. So if I'm from Missouri and I move to Arkansas to go to school, that kind of cancels out and you are then eligible for our scholarship. Another one is if it's only partially funded. So if they are only willing to cover half of that, or if they are only willing to cover like one semester, one class, a book, whatever, then you are eligible for our scholarship because it's not tuition free. So the approval, this is one thing I like to hit on because it's something we do sometimes see. If you have to be approved by at least one of the 4 agencies, FBI, PSOB, NLEOMF, or FOP. If you are not, you'll be notified of that. The student will be notified of that once we receive their application. But those funds are held until an approval is made. So know that we can definitely back pay those and wait for that process, and we're willing to work with students on that. So what does C.O.P.S cover? Cover undergraduate studies at an accredited college or university, postgraduate studies, or studies at an accredited trade or vocational school. That's one that we don't see a lot because people think you have to go to a university, you have to go all 4 years to be eligible. No. Go to a trade school, welding certificate. We had someone that attended hair school. A lot of people can apply. And then you get $2,000 per semester. This was just raised. Diane touched on that a little bit this morning. So it was just raised to $2,000 a semester and $16,000 for the lifetime of your schooling. So once you reach that threshold. And then this is another one I get a question all the time. When should you apply? Every single semester. Every semester it goes back before a board made up of 3 local community leaders in our area, which is Camdenton, Missouri. And it's taken before a committee each and every time. There are certain parameters that they have to stay within, like a certain GPA, class load, things like that are taken into consideration whenever it's presented to the committee. So those each semester are redecided upon and can, if not met by those guidelines, go into like a probationary status. So don't want to do that to anybody, but unfortunately that does happen. So each semester you'll reapply for that. They are awarded on a uniform, non-discriminatory basis, so it is not decided by C.O.P.S staff. Like I said, it does go before a committee made up of those local leaders, usually with a law enforcement background, education background, something like that. And then students are notified of approval within 30 days after the application deadline. So a lot of people start panicking if they've turned in their application like a month before the deadline. No, it's within that 30 days after the deadline is closed. So when are those deadlines? The summer semester are, and this is every single year, so all the time, these are when the deadlines are. Summer semester is due by April 1st, fall semester is always due by June 1st, and the winter spring semester is due by October 1st. And then the committee usually meets about a week, week and a half after that deadline closes. We touch every single application and review it and get it ready for that committee, so it does take a bit of time, so about 1 to 1.5 weeks after. And then payment. Oh, did you have a question? Oh. Sorry.
Is there a certain amount of scholarships that y'all give every semester?
There is no cutoff for that. So as many as we get are reviewed and approved or denied. We obviously want to approve as many as we can. So there is no limit as to how many we can accept.
Okay, and then the next question was, when you said move out of state, does that mean even like temporarily you just decide you want to go to an out-of-state college? Is that
Right. A lot of like state death benefits are specific to the fact that you have to stay in the state that you live in to attend school. So that money is going back into the state that they live. So if you were to move out of state, you're not eligible for assistance in the state you moved to or the state you came from, I guess. And then you would be eligible for our scholarship in that case. Oh, and there's one back there, Barbie.
Does it matter what year our officer died?
No. No, ma'am.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like if the officer died when this child was, young enough that they were not in school yet, once they reach age to go to school, there's no limitation on that.
Even if it dates prior to C.O.P.S beginning?
Right. Okay, so the payments are made directly to the institution. So the student will never, I have some people panic when they haven't received their check or haven't received those funds, but those go directly to the school. So they're notified that any unused amounts does come back to C.O.P.S. And that's another thing with like the limits. If you know your school, like maybe for a summer semester, isn't a full load and it's only say $500 or $600 or something, you don't have to use the full $2,000 each semester. That's just what's available to you. So if you find out later that it's going to be less than whatever you applied for or whatever you were approved for, any unused amount does have to be returned to C.O.P.S. And it can only be used for tuition and class fees. So any like lab fees, sitting fees, sometimes colleges charge that. That's the only thing that our scholarship can cover. And then an official invoice must be sent to us within 30 days of the start of the semester. And that's just so that we can put with that record that, okay, they were able to use these funds, or if we get unused funds back to us, we want to know like, okay, this is what it was used for and this is why we got it back. And then on the subject of education, like I said, I did want to touch on the PSOEA educational assistance that's available. It provides educational assistance allowance to those that have been approved through PSOB. So you do have to attend a degree or certification program at an institution of higher learning. And again, you have to be approved by PSOB, go through that process before you're eligible to apply for that. And then, yes. Mm-hmm. And then any more information about that, they have tons of resources and flyers and material that you can read about it on their website at psob.gov. And then getting into the C.O.P.S Kids Counseling Program. This is one of my favorite ones because you get to give money to people and make them happy. And so this program assists with any of the out-of-pocket expenses incurred for counseling. And then something I do like to stress to people, because we do have to get a little bit of personal information when processing those applications, it is strictly confidential and privileged information. This is not something we share. This is not something we take lightly. And so I want to preface this whole conversation with the information we do get is not shared and is kept strictly confidential. So who is eligible? Any child of a law enforcement officer who has died in the line of duty. So any child, it does cease to be eligible on the child's 22nd birthday. So you can use it up until then. And then the surviving parent or legal guardian may be eligible for reimbursement once kind of proven in a treatment plan written up by the counselor, or if they need to attend like a family treatment session or something like that. Again, have to be approved by one of the 4 following agencies: FBI, PSOB, and LEOM FOP. If one of those approvals has not come through, the executive director can determine eligibility on those cases, and they're treated as a case-by-case situation. How to apply. So the surviving parent or legal guardian would submit an application on our website. This is an electronic application, and some things that you need to provide with it are a birth certificate, proof of health insurance, or if you don't have insurance, just be sure to communicate that with us on the application, because even if you don't have insurance, you're still eligible for this. The counselor's contact information. This is something we are missing quite often, and because we do reach out to your counselor, it's something I like to stress to folks. If you don't have a counselor, that's fine, because some people find that after the fact, but that's something we do need to move forward with the application. And then an explanation of benefits. Now, this does typically come from insurance. This is just something showing like what was owed, what was paid by insurance, and what is currently needing to pay by the survivor. And then you do have to submit an application within 180 days of the last time you were seen. So if you quit counseling, you only have 6 months to submit that for reimbursement after that. So once we receive it, we do reach out to the child's counselor, and we have to get a little bit of information, a copy of state licensing or the certification of degree in that field of practice, a proof of malpractice insurance, if applicable, completed W-9, and the payment process and documentation of billing. I put asterisks there because I wanted to touch on sometimes it's different each place you go. So if the counselor would rather bill and have surviving parent or legal guardian pay up front, and that's something like, no, you cannot leave our office without paying us. Some places are like that. That's fine. We can then reimburse mom or whoever it is. Some places, they want to make it as easy as possible on the survivor. So they say, don't worry about it, we'll bill you directly, and we make the checks directly to that counselor. Really just depends. And so if they can just specify to us how they want that handled and who we need to make that payable to, if they say, no, we don't want anything to do with this, really, just reimburse them directly, that's fine. We just need that specified. And then once that counseling information is received, C.O.P.S staff then determines, we go through that explanation of benefits or the invoice or whatever that may be, and determine the amount owed for those expenses. How much can be reimbursed? So we have a $6,000 lifetime limit for counseling per eligible child. So it's per child. Now there is a $500 per year limit that you can use on psychological medication if you choose to do so. That does come from your lifetime bucket, as I call it. So you've got this bucket, you have $500 a year that you can use for that medication, and it just deducts from that. And then there is a $4,000 lifetime benefit available to the legal guardian, parent, whoever that may be, if determined by the counselor that that is conducive to the child's treatment plan. I do have some that attend like group counseling sessions or family sessions, or it's determined that surviving parent needs to attend like parenting classes. That's available as well, because sometimes that is benefiting the child and that is something that is needed to continue on. So we have that available as well. And then if you do reach that lifetime limit, we have some that reach it fairly quickly, or some that I've been talking to them for several years because they just go every once in a while. You can get additional assistance. You do have to write a letter to the C.O.P.S National Board asking for consideration. And again, those are treated as a case-by-case situation and are considered as such. And so that was both of those in a nutshell. I feel like I went really fast. But my information is here. If you guys ever have, like I said, state benefit updates or, oh, and you had a question?
I do.
Do you want to?
What is the determination on the cutoff age? What if the child manifested these symptoms and ends up seeking counseling later in life, like later towards the end of life, so say you're getting up towards your 22-year mark, and then has to go past the 22-year mark?
So this program specifically is geared towards kids the 22 or younger. It would be great if we were able to ever have something available to them. A lot of state benefits, again, it depends on what state you're in, offer assistance for that. You would just have to dig into that and look, or I could if that was ever something that came up for you. But this program is specific to that. Again, it could be something that's decided on a case-by-case situation if we're getting close to that cutoff and they're like, we're not finished or something like that.
Yeah, she is correct, but if you have a specific child that has an issue that's spanning past their 22nd birthday, it would be the same process of writing a letter to the National Board, and I would take those on a case-by-case basis to the board for consideration.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious as to, I mean, I know it all said the kids counseling.
Right.
So I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if it's, because they,
Yeah.
Right.
We have one more question over here, too. Thank you.
My question is, we talk about the spouse and the children. Is there any program that would help the parents, the mothers, the fathers, or the siblings? Like talking about the medication, the $500 medical benefit, because some of us have to go get counseling and everything. Is there a program that C.O.P.S has that can help the parents or the siblings on anything like that?
Right. At this time, there's not, but like I said, a lot of state benefits do offer assistance like that, and offer that assistance. If that's something you were encountering, you could always reach out to us, and we would be happy to put you in touch with someone that could help, or programs that could help reimburse some of that. All right. And so, again, really short and sweet, but my contact information is up here. Like I said before, thank you. You guys are the ones that talk to survivors face to face. You get to know them, you get to know their families. And if you guys have any questions or, like I said, state benefit updates, anything like that, please reach out to me, and I will always be glad to help or research to find the answer, because there's a lot of information out there. So thank you.